Yes, they are. Mics are hot. The mics have been hot. Good morning. Welcome to Garden America. Welcome to your weekend. We're just a little bit past 8 o'clock if you're watching and listening to us live, those on Biz Talk Radio. This, of course, a pre-recorded show, as with every show, so thank you for tuning in, our good friends on the Biz Talk Radio Network. The rest of our friends here on Facebook Live, we can see you. Yes, indeed. I've got Tiger, I've got John, I've got myself, and we have Gina. Everyone's watching before the show like, who's that blonde? Who's that in the studio? You're one of John's offspring.
That's it. Just one.
One of his offspring.
One of his, yeah.
So, Gina, welcome.
Got awkward quick.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, it's going to get a lot more awkward. We'll dive more into that and while you're here and you're visiting San Diego from Idaho.
Yeah.
We have a few people from Idaho who tune in each week, John, don't we?
Normally.
And now one of them's in studio.
One of them's in studio.
And one of them's in
We
studio.
have two people, and one's in studio now, so now there's only one person in Idaho watching Garden America.
Look at this, Carla. What a fun show shared with Gina in the studio to share her gardening expertise.
Yeah.
The only thing better would be if she made us pancakes.
Oh, that's true. I'm usually making pancakes while I'm watching the show. That's true.
See, people remember.
Yeah.
You can say
memory, Carla.
one thing, 5 months ago, and they remember.
We were just, Gina and I were just talking about Carla a couple days ago, right? Mm-hmm. Because Gina's been helping me dig holes and plant roses. We had to wait for it to get hot, though. When she got here, it was too cool. Yeah. But yesterday we had 94 degrees, so we dug holes and planted roses. But she was talking about the rose that Carla gave her, which was snow cone.
I love it.
It's so cute. And she didn't plant it in the ground because she had it in a pot waiting to go in the ground. Mm-hmm. And she said it looks so good in the pot that I'm just going to leave it there.
Yeah, there you go. Just move it around wherever you want to enjoy it then.
Yeah. Looks great in there. Wait till it outgrows it. Your dad's had roses in pots for 25 years. I know. I don't want to become my father, but it might happen.
You start collecting just potted roses all over the house.
I do have on the side of the yard. I did sort of start a little pot collection, and my husband Sam goes, you're starting to turn into your father.
And it happens slowly. You don't even know it.
You don't realize.
You wake up one day, you go, why am I talking the way I'm talking?
Look at John right now. He's like glowing right now hearing this. He's so proud.
Actually,
he's like, look at my offspring.
Wasn't even paying attention, to be honest.
He was like, I'm thinking of my next comment. Yes.
Where am I? Well, we thought we would have Gina in studio today because she brings a little different aspect to gardening than what we normally bring.
You mean the female aspect?
No, not necessarily.
Because this show's all testosterone usually, right?
We're getting more inclusive.
Usually, but, I'm... My gardening experience, or what I prefer, is more like a botanical garden. If you go look at my roses, each one's labeled, like you would see in a botanical garden. And Tiger is great at landscape design. And actually, he's good at everything. But I'm terrible at landscape design. And Tiger's really good at that. And Gina is good. We were talking about the difference between landscape design and garden design. Mm-hmm. And on the way down today, and I was thinking that landscape design is more about the visual appeal of plants, green plants together, maybe plants that without so much themes.
Yeah, like how to incorporate trees
right.
and shrubs
right.
and, different aspects like that.
Right.
Yeah.
So with garden design, I was thinking, you can have different types of garden themes, and there's so many. In the newsletter today was an article about a fragrant garden, collecting plants that have a lot of fragrance. Gina you do colors in parts of your themes, and you pink and white, right?
I do white.
Yeah.
White. She likes white, basically.
Your theme is white, the white garden.
How to make white look better.
So, color is one thing you can do, but you can also do I would say design within one category. Mm-hmm. For instance, on roses, they don't have to be grouped by color, but you could yesterday we were planting Japanese roses. So this one whole bed, the theme is Japanese roses.
Yeah.
And they can be all different colors, though I have to admit that within all those different colors, Gina dug the holes and said, okay, these colors are going at this end.
Okay.
I can't believe he let me put him there.
Really?
Although he said, dig the holes and I'll plant them. So I'm not sure that those roses will end up there. We'll see.
Now, why were what colors specifically were the ones that you were putting in different spots?
He didn't let me choose the colors. He just got all the
No, but when you separated them.
Oh, right.
I love the fact how, like, as John's not even here,
Yeah.
you guys are talking about it. Well, he this, then he told me that.
Yeah. Well, he
No,
just
I gave her the roses.
Yeah, he brought over a bunch of
Right.
roses, and I said, "Well, what color are these?"
Uh-huh.
And then we went through every single color, and then I rearranged them. I said, "Well, maybe we'll do block coloring because otherwise, it's to me he likes more of a mishmash where I need a place for my eye to rest. And since I know across from this bed he's going to be doing large mishmash rose beds, I thought, well, maybe on this side your eye could rest. So let's just kind of group the colors, block them together,
Okay.
so that you can kind of have a little piece on one side of the garden.
So is blocking together like they're the similar colors
Yeah.
in groups?
Sort of the same color families together. So
Instead
like
of
the
putting
orange
like
and the yellows.
multicolor all in one area.
Yeah. Or like maybe you'd have a red next to a red, but then you'd have a yellow. And then maybe you'd have a pink, and then maybe you'd have a purple, and then maybe you would have, just...
Yeah, where kind of like what John was saying, where landscape architecture is going to be more like this rose gets this size, so
Right.
therefore it's going to go.
We did do
Yeah.
that.
Well, no,
as
but I
well,
mean,
yeah.
but then now also to break it down into colors
Yeah.
as well as kind of like you're saying, John,
Right.
more garden design,
Right.
more. Now, Gina, the other thing too with like that I think you bring to a design as a whole is, we talk about it in this show where you get so smart that you end up hurting yourself in the idea of what the knowledge is actually hurting you. So I'm going to look at something and be like, those can't work there. That's a shade plant, that's a sun plant, that's low water, that's high water, where you can just look at it from the aspect of they work well together, and let's figure out a way to make this work. In
other words, if we have to move them or plant them here to make them work,
Yeah.
based on the sun or shade,
then that would be
okay,
better
sure.
than say, no, you can't do this, because it's kind of like the architect and the engineer. The architect has this vision, has this dream, has this design,
Right,
but the
right.
engineer's like, that's not possible.
Right.
And the architect's like, well, make it possible.
Well, or
And that's
give
where
me
Gina comes
or
in.
give me something that looks just like this for right here.
Yeah.
But
okay.
make it so, because I'll usually approach things like I like different textures together. I'm looking for big leaves and small leaves, and like I like things to be texturally pleasing as well as color complementary as well. And that's my preference, just because I need balance and harmony. And I approach things as, how does it make me feel? What do I want to feel when I walk into a space, which sometimes can translate or not, but I want to walk in and have it like feel a certain way. And so that's sort of how I approach it. What do I want to feel when I walk into this garden? And at different times of the year, what do I want to see? And then try to balance that all.
I've never thought of texture.
Really?
No, I'm more color.
But then there's soft leaves, like lamb.
No, I do like, John will tell you that I love a good dark rose leaf.
Oh.
When they come into bloom before the bugs have gotten to
You
them.
like a glossy leaf?
Oh, I'm a
You would love the ficus he has
I
growing
love the
right
gloss.
now.
I'm a glossy leaf guy.
He just likes a healthy rose.
That's
what he's describing.
I can see you like glossy. It's plastic.
Arranging to appeal to all five senses, says Veronica on Facebook.
Yeah.
Do we have to take a break pretty soon?
A couple of minutes. We got
Couple
about 2
minutes.
minutes. We got to get John's
I
quote.
wanted to have John make sure he hit that quote of the week, because
Let's do it. Let's do the quote of the week. Hey, and don't forget those on Facebook Live. A great day for questions and comments, since we'll be going in a lot of different directions. We're going to be talking about themes and aesthetics and color, but chime in whenever you want to.
The quote of the week, Brian, is from Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, who is
Say his name again. Get it right.
No, I'm not going to. That's
he's not gonna say it again because he still won't get it right.
That's as right as you're going to get it.
Okay.
But he's the author, for those of you who can't figure out who that is, because I butchered the French pronunciation of his name. It's the author of the book The Little Prince.
Most people know that.
Right. And if you haven't read The Little Prince, get a copy, an English translation, obviously, but get a copy, and I promise you that you will be thoroughly entertained. You could read the book in one day if you wanted to.
A lot of pictures, I hope.
There are pictures in the book. As a matter, well, that's a whole nother
See, that's
story.
how we go down rabbit holes,
exactly,
just like that.
Right.
Exactly.
But anyway, he said that a designer knows he's achieved perfection, not when there's nothing left to add, but when there's nothing left to take away.
Ah.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's good. What do you think about that quote? You like that?
I like it. Yeah, it's a good one.
Addition by subtraction? No. But you
I
can.
don't even know what you're talking about right now.
I didn't
See,
make it
I
that
love
far
it.
in
I love
math.
it. I love that when he plays that card. Hey, it's sunny outside. I have no idea what you're talking about. But in a garden, you could have too much or a space too crowded.
Editing is very important.
You take away to add.
Yeah.
You said you used editing?
Editing.
Oh, I like that. It's my business. Of course, I edit every day.
So when there's nothing left to take away, it's finished, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds like a quote.
You could always
But I mean,
add
that's
more,
what
but
you're
when you
saying
don't,
by addition by subtraction.
Exactly.
So,
Hey, we're going to stay on time for the network, so we're going to take our first break. Those on Biz Talk Radio, thank you for tuning in this morning. Those on Facebook Live, questions, comments as we continue. Gina's in studio with us. John Bagnasco, I'm Brian Main, Tiger Palafox. Back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. Welcome back to the show. Those on Biz Talk Radio, thank you for supporting our sponsors, our network sponsors on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. We are ready to go. And good morning, Rick from Idaho. Shannon says she's here. Kendall's here.
Yeah.
Oh.
Bagnasco family all
There we
tuned in this
go.
morning. Most of the family.
we had a question that said, "Where's Mama Bagnasco?" Well,
That
there
was
she
Dana.
is.
She is.
That was
Yeah.
Dana, right?
Yeah.
I bet you Kendall's going to give you a sheet of notes after the show, too, and be like, hey, this is what I liked. Like,
Here's a rundown of the show.
Yeah.
Yes, as they age, they give you more notes.
Oh,
As-
yeah.
yeah.
Exactly.
I get a lot of notes.
A lot of notes. I do, too. I get a lot of notes. It's funny. Before the break, we were talking a little bit about, like, the landscape design and architecture and stuff. And, the one thing, I do tell John is, in your last home, John, because you're redoing the landscape now in your new home, that even though you had a mix of stuff, it looked really nice together.
Right.
And so you can achieve, these goals of having individual plants, but having a lot of different ones. And Gina, what you're saying is as long as you group colors, and when you say you want the eye to rest, what does that mean?
You can have your eye rest in a couple different ways. You could have it rest with color, but you could also have it rest with repeating plants. So in one of Dad's beds that he did, I found rest because there were 3 ferns that were similar.
Oh.
So,
Asparagus myrae,
so
the
yeah,
foxtail fern.
the foxtail fern. So there were 3 repeating ferns, which in a bed that could appear to be mismatch, your eye can rest because there's something continual to look at. So you can.
Was that on purpose, though?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
No,
or
really.
He, or I
was.
think he had 3 ferns. He usually never buys 3 of the same of anything.
No, I did in that case.
Oh, you did. That was
specifically.
intentional.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah, if so you can provide rest that way, or you could repeat a color if you're doing a long border, which I know you like, Tiger. I
Yeah.
also like a long border, but you could repeat either the same plant, or if not the same plant, maybe the same color. So
Okay.
maybe you have something lavender color, and then maybe 3 feet away you have something else lavender color. And so the eye can kind of bounce from one thing to another, but has this place to land in between whatever is in between it.
You are an interior decorator, except outside.
No, she's also inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
You're thinking. You're
part
talking
of it-
about themes.
Yeah. Well, part of it goes back to my first job was at Nurseryland. I had an inn. So of course that's where I would
Nepotism.
yeah, I would get a job where I was pretty sure I was going to get hired. Who's your dad? Yeah. Okay, you're hired. What do you want to do? So
Who's your dad? Leave.
yeah. Yeah. Okay.
That was my end.
That was
Right.
yours. Yeah. So when I started at Nurseryland, and then once Armstrong took over for Nurseryland, I ended up on the merchandising crew. I didn't know I was a visual person at the time, and so Judy, what was Judy's last name?
Judy Ferris.
Judy Ferris. She was head of the merchandising crew, and she really taught me about how to merchandise.
And her experience was with department stores.
Yeah, she was a visual merchandiser with department
Right.
stores. So grouping things, highs and lows and 3s and 5s, and what was more aesthetically pleasing. And I found that I loved that job and was pretty good at it, I thought. Picked it up really easy. And so I carried those sort of same design principles into landscaping. If I'm going to have pots, usually it's like in groups of 3s or 5s, or or if you're going to want something more formal, then it's groupings of, one on one side, one on the other. It's balance, it's proportion. So it just depends on what you're looking for, but that it all kind of started working at Armstrong and being on their visual merchandising crew. We would merchandise gift items, but then we'd also visually merchandise the plants, and you would either put them into a theme, because it depends on what plant material you got to work with. If you got a bunch of stuff from Isley, then you got to build this beautiful woodland display. And if you got, tropicals, then you're building a beautiful tropical, space.
Making little vignettes with
Making
some
vignettes. Yeah. So I love a theme, as Dad's talked about. My kids' birthday parties are always themed. So I don't just come up with the sheet pan, which is great. You can do that too, but I love a theme. So I love a theme in gardening, and I love a theme, it's easier for me to, otherwise I get I would probably be more like Dad. I would just buy one of everything I like and put it in the ground.
Yeah.
But, which is a theme too.
That does sound like
Yeah.
me.
Right.
I like that.
Yeah.
Where's it going to go? I don't know.
Do you have
It
any
helps
repeating?
me stay focused.
You mean like
any repeating plants? I mean, I know
Well,
you got
rose-
multiple roses, but do you have any of the same plant?
yeah? I'm trying to think.
I don't
You
think
had
do.
no, not maybe more than 2. Like when I gave you two palms,
Yeah,
but
Two queen
normally,
palms?
yeah,
They
2 queen.
were 2 queen palms.
Right.
Okay.
but you're right though. Usually it's just individual,
Right.
plants. I
But
gotta
you're
take
limited by space.
Yeah,
But no, but I mean, back to kind of like what Gina's saying here with, you have repeating things, like you might have multiple roses,
Right.
or you have multiple tropical plants.
I do have
or-
multiple palms. I
things
do.
like that.
Yeah, I do.
But it also sounds like my eyes would not rest in your back patio.
No, you'd be all over the place.
Well, how are your pots arranged?
Yeah.
Because are
There's-
they in groups of 3s or 5s, or are they just
Yeah,
in one
Gina-
long row?
Gina can
I
stop
come
by
up and
after the
merchandise
show
for
and-
you. Yeah.
Exactly.
Dana could help you
with the space I
merchandise
have
your
to
yard.
work with,
If it's all jungle, that's fine too. Because then it's
you know
just-
what?
Yeah,
It's probably close to jungle.
yeah, that's fine.
And I did move a lot of my plants out of the patio to the front walkway,
Oh yeah.
unbeknownst to the HOA, but it looks better. But yeah, it's more jungly.
Yeah.
In
It
that,
probably feels more like a garden than
and we got a fountain right in the middle.
Oh, there you go. See, there's an eye, a focal point.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, I think creating focal points in the garden is good too. That gives your eye can rest with a focal point, whether it's a potting bench, a bird bath, or it's good to have those things. I don't like tchotchkes. I don't like too many things in the garden. Your eye can go crazy if you have
Yeah.
1,000 garden gnomes
Yeah.
sprinkled throughout the garden.
I'm not a gnome guy. I've never been a gnome guy.
No.
Yeah.
I found one with a hat that had succulents on it, echeverias. And,
Yeah, you got
so
one.
I like
which
that
is good,
one.
But if you had 20 of those,
Right.
I would.
By the way, you talked about a bird bath. Our fountain doubles as a bird bath.
Oh, that's good.
They all
Yeah.
come and take a bath and drink.
It's fun watching birds.
You know, Carla has a theme that she's been using that I think
like her theme.
many people would use this theme, though unintentionally. Her theme is these are the plants that are still alive.
That's what I'm saying. Survival.
That's great.
Yeah.
We played a little bit of that yesterday.
Yeah.
Well, you know, yeah, we did. We had to clean up every rose that we planted yesterday because they were everyone was stressed.
We played Princess Bride.
Yeah.
What was
Is-
Princess Bride?
Is it mostly alive or is it mostly dead? And I was doing, what did you say? True love. Like I was trying to make the roses say true love. No, I think he's saying true brave.
We've got to take a break. This is our second segment coming to an end. Third segment right around the corner, taking a break for our friends on Biz Talk Radio. Do stay with us. Gina Richardson in studio. John Begnasco. I'm Brian Main. Tiger Palafox. Keep those cards and letters coming. Do we have any cards and letters or just, I guess
Check the
not.
mailbox.
Yeah, check the mailbox. Back after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. We are back on the air. We didn't go anywhere. We've been sitting in the studio the whole time, but we are back on the air, back on Facebook Live, back on Biz Talk Radio. It is a pleasure having you watching us, listening to us. Gina in studio from Idaho, spending quite a bit of time with your family. How's that going?
It's going great.
Good.
We watched Jumanji last night. It was hilarious.
The original one or the new one?
The second one. We're watching them in order. I watched the first one with the kids. Well, Kendall. We didn't have Kyle in there. It probably would have been a little too scary for him. And then so we watched the second one with The Rock, and yeah, it was great.
That's where they become in a video game, right?
Yes, they get sucked in through the video,
Okay.
and then the nerdy kid gets to be The Rock, which
Yeah.
is awesome. He's like,
So funny.
yeah.
Yeah, and then the third one is a sequel to that one. There, it's it's funny you mentioned the first one probably a little bit scary. Older movies,
Yeah, they didn't
are
hold back.
a little bit scarier than the newer movies.
We're-
I feel.
That's why we're tough
becoming
for
soft.
kids. That's what. Maybe that's why. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, because I remember watching that movie, the original Robin Williams,
Yeah.
Jumanji, and I mean, like, yeah, I mean, there was some really scary parts, and the little creatures. I
Yeah.
think what is there, spiders or scorpions or something that come out, and it's kind of really scary. But
Well, the CGI is better now.
well, and I don't get
Yeah.
it. Like, is that so? Does that make it more fake that it's not as scary? But it seems like it's more real.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did your parents let you watch Jaws?
I can't remember when the first time.
I saw
mean,
them-
I've seen Jaws as a kid. I can't remember the first time I saw
I
it.
saw it
Were
in the
you
movie
afraid
theater.
of swimming pools after that?
I was always, I have a swimming pool today, and at night, it's my own swimming pool,
It's because of Jaws.
and at night I'm still scared to go in the swimming pool, and it's my own swimming pool that I
Dun-it,
clean and
dun-it.
manage in everything, and I still
You do it
feel
yourself? No service? You do it?
Like, no, I have a service.
Service, sure,
But like, I mean, it's not like I'm walking into a random swimming pool.
Well,
It's
you
still
surf,
scary.
right?
Yes, and
So
I
you
see
actually
that.
swim with sharks, but the swimming pool's scary.
it is. It's dark and
Yeah, you
I
never
asked
know.
Tiger that one time. When you surf in an area day after day, you're comfortable, your
Yeah.
surroundings are familiar. But like, let's say when you went to Bali
Yeah.
and you surfed, right?
Yeah.
Now you're in waters you have no idea what's
Yeah.
underneath.
Yeah.
That's a little intimidating, right?
Oh, very much so. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I grew up at the beach, surfed in the water all the time. Jaws came out years later, went and saw Jaws.
Yeah.
My approach to the water was a little different. You're looking around more, and that just changed everybody's psyche on sharks.
Yeah.
Speaking of surfing, there's great surfing in Costa Rica.
Oh yeah.
Well, he's going to rent a board. Are you going to rent a board and try it?
Yes.
But the reason I'm bringing that up is because
Great segue, John. Thank
today
you.
is the last day. Unless you're listening to us on the radio, then you missed it by a week.
Yeah, it was last week, but go ahead.
Right, but if you, after today, we are going to open up Right now, the sign up for Costa Rica has been limited to people who listen to the show. But we're going to open it up to everyone tomorrow, starting tomorrow.
So friends and family and neighbors, if you know them, let them know.
Well, not only that, but if you've been thinking, and postponing, saying you're going to sign up, you need to do it today. And if you do it today, you also will get the $100 discount off the trip. But it's going to be a fun trip.
My dad's going.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, excellent. So that counts for us, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
There'll be someone to watch Tiger. We won't have to do that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No babysitting me.
That's fantastic. So, yes, anybody want to go to Costa Rica April 20th to the 29th with Colette Travel with Garden America, sign up. Right. Any questions, go to our website, gardenamerica.com. It's all right there, the itinerary, everything. Volcanoes, coffee plantations, zip lining, the ocean, the beach, orchids.
Everything there. Volcanoes.
Yeah. I got to throw the volcano in.
You're like volcanoes, sharks,
but we
jumping
missed
spiders.
Now, when we go, though, that time of the year, it's off-season for sacrifices in the volcano, right, John?
It's off-season.
It's off-season.
There's a sacrifice season?
Yeah, there is.
Yeah?
I think it's November to February.
Oh, perfect. We're missing it by a lot then. We won't even overlap in.
Are you reading Kim's comment, John, or question?
Yeah, it just showed up. Kim from our good friend from the Backyard Garden Club in Tucson.
Right.
Yeah. She said she's enjoying the show, and she's mentioned the 1-3-5 planting in a garden or color wheel plantings in the garden many times. And it's funny how so many people look at me like I've lost my mind. It's not for those reasons, Kim.
Yeah.
No, just kidding. She said, and have no idea what I'm talking about. Their response, if I see a plant and I like it, I buy it. That's the way I garden, right? Yeah. If I see a plant, their response
and you'll
is that
figure
they
it out
do that.
later.
Yeah, but there's so many garden ideas, themes. And the themes can be whatever you want. If you want your theme to be one-of-a-kind botanical garden, go for it.
Well, you can create garden rooms. And so that's a good way to get multiple themes into one garden. Just create a different room.
Small areas.
A side yard. Yeah. A side yard could be a Japanese garden. The other side yard could be, whatever else you're interested in.
We don't have the Side Yard Garden Club tuned in this morning. Just the backyard.
Just the backyard.
Just the backyard. Oh, this is backyard garden.
One of the most famous examples of the rooms that you're talking about was in this week's newsletter, Sissinghurst. Vita Sackville West went through and designed with her husband rooms for the castle, right around the castle. And of course, she was famous for her white garden, which is one of the most difficult gardens to create. And that's your favorite, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Gina really likes that. But she did other color gardens too, but then different types of themes. So each one is a room, and you would walk from one room into another outdoors. So they don't have to be physically separated rooms, but you can have little sections of the garden that are one thing or another thing. For instance, in California, you can have a tropical garden, but in one section you can have succulents and desert plants.
Easy. Yeah. And then at Sissinghurst, I mean, like you're saying, she would have a courtyard, but in that courtyard there were these areas, these rooms, like you're saying, like you would just walk from one area of the courtyard to the other area of the courtyard, and you were in a different theme, you were in a different pattern of plants, and
they used a lot of hedges, so they made physical rooms almost.
Yeah. But still, I mean, you were all in the same spot. It was really cool how they were able to do that. Now, Gina, you say you wanted to create a white, garden.
If you like white, you love this building, don't you?
Are you more drawn to the white flowers, though, or, just in general white with plants?
To me, it's like that simple elegance. I love, there's nothing to me more elegant than like a trimmed up topiary with, surrounded by white pansies or white, that clean look. I love that. So to me, it's like a simple elegance, very classic style. So I don't know. And it's just like black or white. It just never goes out of style.
Yeah.
So, some plants come in and out, and
Right.
it's like they'll be fashionable or whatever, but I feel like you can't go wrong with a white garden. It's classic. It's
Yeah.
you know,
I mean, look at star jasmine, white fragrant flower. That, I feel like that will always be a popular plant, and you can't go wrong with it because you can use it in any part of your landscape, even if there's a big area with lots of color and different things. Star jasmine will still work. It'll still
And
be
you
I
can
had it on
build around
trellises
that.
in my old garden,
Yeah.
and on a white trellis, green leaves, white flowers looked great. Remember in Italy, Brian, you could smell the star jasmine
Oh, yeah.
everywhere, and it's like,
You'd like, where is that
yeah,
coming from?
it smells so
Yeah.
good. So
That was fun. Rick wants to know your biggest challenges gardening in Idaho because he's also in
yes,
Idaho.
Yes, we do.
You know, that was going to be a question I was going to ask too. What were some of the, you can answer Rick about your biggest challenges, but what were the biggest differences moving from California to Idaho? Things you had to learn.
One of the
I'm
first,
sure one was soil.
One of the first thing I learned, just because it's sunny outside doesn't mean you can dig in your soil. I was like, oh, it's frozen. Weird. Okay, so frozen soil, you have to. There's a time of year where you can actually plan on
Right.
digging.
Whoa.
Waiting for the frost and the snow to clear off the mountain, because then you're clear to plant, you're safe to plant. So you have to learn when your last frost date is. So planting for the seasons, what could be a perennial here could be an annual there. So learning those differences. I lived in Temecula, and we had clay soil there too. This clay soil, even though it's still difficult to dig and stuff, it seems like the plants grow better in this clay soil for some reason. Like it has more nutrients than Temecula. It seemed like with Temecula, you had to add a lot to the soil. I don't add very much to this soil.
It's called water.
So, yeah, I think it's the water.
Water,
We
yeah.
get water in Idaho, and it's free. I have free water. I have free irrigation.
Right.
So
We gotta
and
take a
it's-
break. Hold
okay.
that- hold
Yep.
that.
No problem.
Got the thought?
Yep. Got it.
Okay. We have to take a break. Stay on time for our network friends on Biz Talk Radio. This is Garden America. Happy weekend to you. Back after these messages. Those on Facebook Live, keep those questions, comments coming as we continue on your weekend here on Garden America. We are back from our break. Those on Facebook watching us, no sound. What are they doing? What's going on? What is Tiger doing? What did John give him? We're setting up John's phone so he can see the comments a bit easier. And yes, we are back. Now, did you remember your train of thought?
Sure.
Where you were and what we're talking about? Of
We're
course.
talking about the challenges of going from California to Idaho.
Right, and you thought that
gardening.
the easier to grow as opposed to
Because
of your soil,
yeah,
right?
I find that the soil is a little easier to get into, and as Tiger pointed out, we do have water, so that is helpful. Whereas
you get any snow runoff?
Yeah, lots of it. Yeah,
I
the
mean,
rivers are full.
That's it.
And
There's
then
your
we-
water, right?
Yeah, and then we get the water. So yeah, our water comes from the rivers, which I think probably has more nutrients than water that comes from the city and had all these, chemicals added
Right,
to it
yeah,
to make it clean. So I feel like that's probably helpful. And maybe we have longer days in the summer. And so we have sun till 10 o'clock in the summer. So I think that having more sun helps things grow. They have a shorter time to grow. But those longer days help it grow better.
What about different plants? A lot of plants you can grow in Idaho that we could not grow here.
I know. I have peonies. Have been my favorite flower forever, and now I can grow them. And some years I get peonies and roses blooming at the same time, which is wonderful to have a bouquet of peonies and roses and hydrangeas, like all the pretties. So I get to make
All the pretties.
all the pretties. So I get to make these beautiful arrangements. And flower arranging is another thing that I love to plant for. So I love to plant. My favorite thing is to be able to just go in the backyard and cut a beautiful bouquet of flowers. But I do like to grow things that are edible for the kids. That Kyle loves strawberries. I have a whole strawberry patch
wow,
for him.
yeah, right.
And he goes out there and checks the strawberries. And
Well, it's nice that they're learning that everything doesn't come from a grocery store.
Yes. So I've got golden raspberries and blueberries and looking to add some fruit trees, but need to, have the right spot for them. So,
Economically gardening, cut flowers are probably one of the biggest ways where you can actually save money in gardening. Like people talk about like the $100 tomatoes, where you grow this vegetable garden, and by the time that you end up getting anything from it, it costs you a lot of money to grow that fruit. But cut flowers. You mentioned hydrangea bouquets and peonies
peonies
and
are
roses.
very expensive cuts.
You go to a cut flower florist and you go to buy those items to put into an arrangement. That's a very expensive arrangement. Where if you have those in your backyard and you can just simply go back there and cut a few and put them in a vase, like you're saying, and then you have the idea that you can go and do that weekly, every 2 weeks, and you just keep it going. It's so funny. In my yard, I'll do little things. I don't do it often, but when I get inspired, I'll go get some cut flowers from the yard and put them in the kitchen or something like that. Janine's like, "Oh wow, where'd
those come from?"
I'm like, they're in our backyard. She's like, "Wow."
Missed opportunity. I got them at the store for
Yeah,
you.
she doesn't go back there. She stays out of the Tigerland back there, right?
Yeah, exactly. But economically, cut flowers flowers in your garden are a really good way to make it viable, and it's really easy to incorporate those plants into the landscape. Like you don't have to do a cut flower garden.
A lot of the stuff I start in, that's another thing. I do start stuff from seed now in the winter because you can't get into the soil. I notice a lot of people in Idaho will start seeds and, that's when you start planning and cataloging because you're not able to be in the garden. So it's nice to just go out and stare at your space and see what's missing or look at a catalog and think, oh, I'm going to try that. And then start some seeds in the, in the later part of the winter and get those going. So as soon as you can plant, you're ready with something. Because sometimes the garden centers won't have stuff ready yet because there still might be, a frost coming or something like that. So, and it's nice to just watch something grow in those colder months when everything's, twigs and lack of color.
Where you're at, what was the nursery, John, that you were really impressed by that had the kind of like smaller evergreens?
Conifers.
Yeah, conifers.
Edwards
Nursery is
you were impressed with that nursery,
right? They were the ones that also had the great selection of. At Christmas, remember I told you about the poinsettias.
Yeah.
And they're a greenhouse, so they grow a lot of things too. But
they grow for other nurseries.
Yeah,
but
I'm not sure whether there's more nurseries in Idaho.
There's
independent.
There's more independent nurseries, than the Home Depots and the Lowe's. There's definitely a lot more independent nurseries.
Right.
And I was kind of wondering from, going into that place, like you're saying, like the nurseries might not have it as early as you want it.
Right.
And also because they're very restricted as far as the growing season, do you feel, they're only going to grow something that they know is going to sell? And you don't see the variety, so if you want to have more variety, you kind of got to grow it yourself? Or do you still see that variety because they have greenhouses where they're growing their own plants anyways?
I feel like they get there's a lot more unique things than what.
Uh-huh.
Or maybe I'm just used to California gardening, so things seem more common here. But Edwards has a amazing variety of, or maybe whoever's buying there just is fascinated with Japanese maples because they get so many varieties of Japanese maple I've never seen before, and clematis. And
the clematis were unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, but those two plants you're describing are two plants that you're not going to
Right.
find here in
Right.
Southern
So
California.
So,
Well, clematis grow in Southern
Yeah,
California.
but not the varieties. And they don't grow
Well,
well.
and-
That's like Japanese maples grow in Southern California.
they just burn really fast.
Japanese maple in Southern California for 3 weeks in the spring are
look
spectacular.
You know, we can grow them out in full sun. People have Japanese maple planted out in full sun, and hydrangeas. I have hydrangeas out in full sun.
Do you ever do
My
something in your-
Incredibles are in full sun.
We got a break coming up, but quickly, do you ever do something in your garden? You've gone out there, you've rearranged something, you've planted something, you've trimmed, you kind of made it look nice, and you're expecting somebody in your family or somebody who comes by to say something, and they never do. It's like, hey, did you notice that I just did all this work? Because a lot of people will just walk by and don't notice detail or don't notice a garden.
I think that Gina's husband notices everything.
Does he?
It's like,
Yeah, I've tried to
where
take
is
out
my
part of the-
lawn
yeah.
disappearing to?
He notices if I take out lawn, and he notices trees. He has a obsession with how big trees get, and is it too big? So
Because he knows your dad.
yeah, so he bought.
knows where you learned this.
He buys me garden tools, and so he bought me a large tree trimmer.
Yeah, so that you can take care of
And-
what he notices.
Yeah, and I was like,
We gotta take a break. I'm sorry, so sorry.
okay, that's
We've got network news coming up on Biz Talk Radio. We will continue these stories, by the way, so do stay with us. Back at 6 minutes after on Biz Talk Radio, so hopefully your market does carry the second hour or both hours here on Garden America. For the rest of you on Facebook Live, keep the questions coming. Right here, we are Garden America, back after these messages, back after news on Biz Talk Radio. Welcome back to Garden America. If you're tuned in on Biz Talk Radio, just joining us, this is hour number 2. The rest of us on Facebook, it is one long show. The same thing happening over and over again, but we like it. Sometimes being repetitive is a good thing. Brian Main, Gina Richardson in studio with us, John's offspring, John Begnasco, Tiger Palafox. And we're having a good time talking about aesthetics, how to grow things in the garden, what looks good, how to plan. We've been all over the board this morning. Your husband noticing trees, so he buys you a tree trimmer?
yeah. I said, I'm not Green Gorilla, but apparently he assumes my brothers have showed me something, so I'm out there trimming the trees.
But it's amazing what people notice and don't notice, which
We
I guess
should
was my
mention
point.
that Green Gorilla is
Right.
her brother's tree
Tree
trimming
trimming
business,
business.
Free
right?
service. But it's true. People notice certain things and not other things.
Yeah.
And I expect people to notice everything. Oh, I just cut that down. I just planted that. Didn't you see that? I just swept the sidewalk. Did you see that? Things like that. You know?
Just swept the sidewalk.
Compliment the sidewalk,
Yeah.
please.
Yeah, I would notice those things and compliment you, Brian. I have an eye like that
Yeah.
there.
You know?
Is it more that, or are you just like a words of affirmation kind of a guy, Brian? You need that. You need those.
No,
Is that
you know
your
what
love
it is?
language,
Yeah,
Brian?
exactly.
Maybe a little bit of that, but like
Yeah.
Gina said, I notice detail on everything. And if somebody else doesn't, I'm like, well, I noticed it. Why didn't you notice that?
That's
What's
a creative.
wrong with you?
Creatives are like that. You're
know?
creative, Brian.
It's like with audio and sound. When I hear something off, and I'll have somebody in here, and I'll say, "Do you hear that?" They go, "No." You don't hear that, whatever the sound might be.
Except earlier, Tiger.
Yeah, exactly, right?
Well, do you notice commercials on TV? It's like That's a terrible way to try to sell that product.
Yep.
I would not buy it just because of your commercial.
But then you know what I also say? Oh, you're not targeting me. I'm not your target audience. I don't identify with this.
Are there commercials anymore?
Hey,
There better be. That's what I do for a living.
Gina, I was thinking when you were talking about, these designs, these layouts, these rooms, these, block coloring. Now, for you, who is someone that's always kind of, and I know that landscapes are always evolving, they're always changing, right? But I mean, can you use a lot of the same stuff that you had? Like, for instance, like this white garden, you're moving into that direction. I mean, does it mean you take out and put in new things to make it work more with what you want to do, or are you just kind of adding to it?
Well, the house that we had moved in had a previous landscape in the backyard, and I tried to work with those plants.
Yeah.
And then I thought, why? Because, it is hard to remove a plant that's perfectly healthy.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with it. But, if you can't make it work, and it drives you nuts every time you look at it and you've tried to make it work,
It's like moving into a new house and
rip it
they left
out.
their furniture
Yeah.
there.
I try and give it away. I tried to give it
Yeah.
away to a neighbor. Does anybody want this? Put it on Facebook. I love to get gifted plants. I love to gift plants. Like I get plants for gifts all the time. And so if you can't give it away or whatever, just get rid of it. It's your garden. You got to walk into it and you got to love it. And so I kept about 2 privets and I kept the two trees because they're too mature.
Was it a healthy garden back there, the landscape? I mean,
Yeah, it just didn't make sense.
Just not, it was unimaginative.
It was the most uninspiring thing you just could have looked at.
it was just there.
It was just there. It was like plop a plant and then 2 feet plop another plant.
Oh, they tried.
Put something else.
Poor people.
They didn't try at all.
It was like a subdivision planning, just
Yes.
fill it to plants.
Yeah, like what's on the truck?
Right.
This is what's left. Throw it back there.
Staging your house to sell.
Yeah, and I need balance, and so I kept the things on either side that were balanced, and I moved something. They had 2 privets right next to each other, and they were both mature and the size I needed, and it's hard to get a privet that mature.
Yeah.
And so I was able to transplant, luckily, and it lived. Transplanted it over to the other side where I needed it. And so luckily I was able to have the maturity. Otherwise I would have had to take both of them out. And then to lose that big structure, would have been hard. It would have been a new opportunity, let's just say, for something else. But
Veronica in Spring Valley says that she's not as disciplined as you. She says walking into a garden center is like walking into a bookstore for her. She says she sees and goes, ooh, so pretty.
yeah, that's why I have to pick a theme because I'm the same way. So
Well, she just said the eye buys. She says, I take it home, see how long it lasts, and it takes me to figure out how to grow it. So my theme is put it all together and hope for the best.
Yeah, that's there's nothing wrong with that too. Sometimes I'll see they'll display something at a garden center and you'll see all these different colors and you're like, oh, those look so good together, and I could put that together so nice. Well, I'll do it in a pot because it'll be annual and it's not going into the garden permanent. So when I want, or if my kids pick out a color, because the kids like to pick out stuff that doesn't go in your garden, and I'm a little bit like my dad. When he would take me to the garden center when I was younger, he would always roll his eyes because I'd pick out like the most basic plant. And
By the way, he still does roll his eyes.
yeah, and he would be embarrassed, like, oh gosh, I really have to buy this pack of petunias. For
Well,
my
you've
kid.
learned a lot, though. Like you would never, at least I hope you would not take alyssum seed and just throw it all over the garden.
Yes, I would.
So speaking of what your
It's the right color and texture.
speaking of
And
what your
fragrant.
kids like and don't like, do you have a kids garden? Like a side, plant what you want. This is yours.
No, they could have their own pot, but I am
Right.
a little bit like Dad in that, it's sort of like I can't do it because it'll bug me. It'll bug me too much if I saw red in my garden, and my daughter does love color. Hi, Kendall.
Well, then you know
and
what?
so
If you're
I'll-
bugged easily, don't turn around. The picture frame's a little askew behind you.
Yeah, couldn't do it. There's one in your bedroom right now, Dad, that I look at, and I just am like, oh, that hydrangea, Mom, go fix that. So, but yeah, so I try to get the kids involved, but I do have a hard time just letting them pick out any plant that they want to plant.
Well, back to kind of you talking about removing some of the plants too. That's the one thing I feel people have some of the hardest time doing, right?
Absolutely.
And if you have an overall goal for whatever landscape you're doing, you need to be able to do that, right? Like if you see two privets sitting right next to each other and that's just not working,
the look you want,
you know, you either have to make the call, like one's going to go, I'll remove it. If you can transplant it, even better, whatever that means. But like a lot of people do end up trying to work with it and just letting it happen. Mm-hmm. But then I feel like you start moving even more in the wrong direction, right?
Because then you'll try to plant to compensate for it. Yeah. And then, which I did the first year, I tried to go, I think I can make it work. And then I planted some stuff and to try and make that work. And I moved everything that first year that I had planted because I'm like, I'm sick of trying to make this work. It's not going to work. So why am I torturing myself trying to make this garden, and it's not looking the way I want? So things got moved. It's a lot more work if you do it that way. If you're trying to work within a scheme of that you don't want.
Yeah,
so
and it might
it's easier
never
just
work.
pull it. Yeah, it's easier just pull it out, start over, transplant.
I have a hard time trimming something that's doing very well. It's blooming, whether it's a palm or whatever, taking up space. But I know it's best that I do trim it.
Right.
But I'm like, well, I don't want to cut it down. It took, 3 years to get as big as it is.
Yeah. I do that with my hydrangeas. After they bloom, and I just don't like the spent. Oh, well, I should say only on my Incredibles. They get so big and they bloom out, and then they've got green blooms, and I don't love the green blooms just getting big, and then they flop over my boxwood, and then it all gets a little untidy and too messy for me, so then they just get trimmed.
Yeah.
It's like I can't take it. they're
I don't like the dried hydrangea flower look much either. I like the fresh hydrangea, like a fresh white.
I've got that
fresh
going on right now.
But then when they some people will use those in like an arrangement, like
sure.
I have
flower.
some in a fall arrangement right now, but if it's summer, it's not fall yet, so get rid of them. They gotta go.
You won't have them for fall if you get rid of them.
I have the paniculatas in the front, so yeah. But I don't need the Incredibles anyways. Don't make great.
Yeah.
Right, they're just too big.
Oh, okay.
Tiger, Jose mentions that he's been surprised by the amount of Japanese maples he sees in San Diego.
Right.
He said that sometimes it's just finding the perfect place under a tree or tucked in by the house on the north side. But you do have to keep them away from the heat.
And having its own fresh water source.
Right.
It's so funny with that because,
we got to go to a break time.
All right. No problem.
Hold the thought.
I'll let you.
I always make sure we hold the thought. We've come back sometimes. What were we talking about? I don't know what we were talking about. Anyway, this is a break for Biz Talk Radio. Garden America, happy weekend to you. Back after these messages. All righty, we have returned. We promised we'd return. We are here. It is Garden America. John Bagnasco, Gina Richardson, Tiger Palafox, Brian Main. It is the weekend if you're listening to us on Biz Talk Radio or Facebook Live, but maybe it's a repeat of the show, John. It could be the middle of the night. It could be our YouTube channel.
Gosh.
Could be Spotify, could be Google, could be Alexa. All the ways to hear the show. Have you tried Alexa?
Tiger, what's happening?
Yeah.
What's going on? Why is he pointing and looking at me? Yeah. What's he doing? We're digital. We're streaming.
He's basically saying we're everywhere.
I'm pumping. I'm promoting.
Gotcha.
So if you have Alexa, you can say, Alexa, play Garden America podcast.
We could give a shout out to, you said we're everywhere, give a shout out to Pakistan.
Yeah.
Our buddy Hastam is
tuned in this morning.
Yeah.
So you're around the world.
I'm familiar. I'm on Facebook. Hi,
She knows-
Facebook buddies.
She
I
knows
know
the
you
show
guys
better than we do.
Yeah, I'm usually on the other side of the screen and hanging out with everybody online.
Right.
So,
I love it when people chit chat back and
yeah,
forth.
we have a great time.
Beautiful.
We have our own little community over there.
Have
You
we
guys don't
gotten
even know.
photos from Hastam yet? I feel like we've asked for photos.
No, we've asked, Hastam
Yeah, send us some photos of Pakistani gardens.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I'm not positive, but it seems to me that Hastam either had a garden center or a little landscape business or worked in a garden center,
Not sure.
something like that.
Anyway, let us know.
Japanese maple
Yes.
before the break.
Right.
John, okay. In Southern California, we put our Japanese maples here in the shade. We try to protect them a bit.
Right.
But I've always found that very interesting because when you go to Sacramento, which is Central California, they grow in full sun.
And it's hot.
And it's a lot hotter.
Right.
And then, Gina, as
we
you
get
mentioned,
we get 100. Yeah.
you get 100 degrees, and they grow in full sun.
And we have long hot days. The hottest
Yeah.
part of the day in Idaho is 5 o'clock and on. So from like 5 to 10, it could be like 105.
So it's
Wow.
not that they can't tolerate sun,
Yeah.
and it's not that they can't tolerate heat. Why do we put them in the shade here?
Because they can't tolerate everything mixed together. So what you
lack
just
of
said
water.
is okay.
Okay.
But when you add salty soils to that
And
because of
then-
our water,
Okay. And
It-
the sun.
right.
And the heat.
right.
All of that.
Now you could somewhat alleviate that situation by acidifying the soil. So if you treat them the same way you would treat azaleas and camellias, you may not have as much of a problem.
Okay.
And then also, we have better luck with wider leaf maples. You know, the thread leaf.
Yeah.
It seems to burn to a crisp.
Real quick.
Right.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I think that the number one factor is the salty soils.
Okay. So the shade area is to almost keep that water from having to be replenished so frequently. So you're not adding more and more salt to it.
Right.
Right. And also, hopefully, that soil is a little bit more, as you're saying, like rich, like the azalea, camellia soil with more like, not, shade soil doesn't necessarily have more peat or acid in it,
Right.
but it tends to be more rich, right? Like, Gina, you mentioned coming from Temecula, why is the soil in Temecula different than the soil in
clay.
Idaho where you're at? And it's because Temecula soil is sun-baked, dry, hot soil.
Salty.
You're right. It is lacking a lot of what you have now in Idaho. And so, you take a Japanese maple and put it in that sun-baked, even if it's in the shade, that soil is still better in the shade than it is in the sun because, that soil in the sun out there where we have real hot areas, it's tough.
Well,
you got to amend
Temecula,
it.
you could put the Japanese maple in the shade and they still burn.
Yeah, yeah.
Like Temecula's just
Yeah.
where plants go to die.
But you could probably do well in San Diego with Japanese maple because there's dwarf, right? There's
Yeah.
all different kinds of Japanese maple, dozens of hundreds of varieties. If you got some of the dwarf varieties and grew them in containers
Yeah.
where you could leach the soil when you water so you don't get a buildup,
Yeah.
that might be better.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've noticed, in San Diego, back in the Nurseryland days, we always told people plant gardenias in the shade.
Yeah.
And I always told people that till I went to Phoenix, Arizona.
Saw
and
this.
saw them
them
growing
thriving
in
in the
full
sun.
sun.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like, what is this?
Yeah. Yeah, it is funny. And then, you mentioned the hydrangeas too. Those have always been like a full shade plant as well. But no, there's a lot of them that can tolerate sun. And now they're coming out with even more varieties that tolerate more sun.
Well, they also have the rebloomers, which is nice. You guys were talking about
Yeah.
how you don't like the dead flowers hanging on there. Well, on a rebloomer now you can cut off the dead flowers and you get new ones,
Yeah.
fresh ones,
Yeah.
The hydrangeas?
Yep.
hydrangeas,
What variety is that?
like endless
Endless
summer.
summer.
Oh, endless summer. Yeah.
And now there's many different varieties, right? There's a pink endless summer, and
All the endless.
and
summer
that one,
varieties. Okay.
what was the one I showed you and Brian that time? Princess Diana.
Yeah.
really
That's
pretty.
been blooming all summer for me.
Yeah.
Rick wants to know what you use to amend your soil, Gina, in Idaho.
Or do you amend the
Or do
soil?
you?
I try to add organic material as much as possible. Fertilize with kelp, fertilize with organic. I just always try to add as much organic nutrients anytime. And then I always plant with what's the like a good starter fertilizer, something in there. But I don't fertilize. I try not to fertilize that often.
Yeah, I mean,
It seems like things go, and it's more the insects you have to kind of worry about too, because like they get budworms really bad. Like all the petunias seem to be like you have to spray them every week with like a dead bug brew or something like that. And so there's certain things like you got to spray more, I find, than fertilize out there. It seems like fertilizing doesn't seem like you need a lot of fertilizer.
If you have the good soil you're talking about.
But the number one way to amend clay soil is just what Gina's saying. The more organic material you add, the better.
yeah, I was gonna say. I mean, just that's a lifetime of improvement there,
Right.
because every year you're just gonna get better and better soil by amending that clay and having it do well.
Yeah, so I'll do like in the spring, you can top dress with like a good compost. So just adding like a good compost to top dress, plus it looks nice. You have a nice fresh brown, top dressing. It's like putting on some black heels. I don't know.
That's how I've always
Makes it
Dress
all
up
look
that
good.
garden.
Yeah.
I've always compared it that way. We've had many discussions about the black heel.
Whenever we go to visit Gina, we visit the garden centers, and I always come home with a few plants. And they sell, Tiger, maybe you guys sell this too. By the way, the only nursery that I can think of in Southern California that reminds me of the Idaho nurseries is Tiger's Mission Hills Nursery. It's that type of
Quaint
Mission
family.
well, it's the type of old independent garden center that has the owner's personality into it.
Right,
And
right.
all kinds of fun things going on that large chains can't do. But anyway,
We're
so
going to take a break, John, before you.
somebody has to remind me of my thought when we come back.
What were you talking about? What were you going to say?
I was going to talk about, see, now I forgot.
Your ficus?
No, I was going to talk about some of the plants that I found up there. And I
Okay,
was
so
going to ask.
you got three people that'll help you.
Okay.
Back with John's thoughts after these messages on Biz Talk Radio. Okay, we are back. Thank you for tuning in. Those on Biz Talk Radio, Facebook Live. It is Garden America, in case you're brand new or you're just kind of nosing around the internet. Those on Garden America, those on whatever page you're on, you came across us. Thank you. John, back to Idaho.
Yeah, I was going to mention that I always bring plants back with me, and there was a new ficus called Audrey. Is that one that you guys have carried, Tiger?
Yes.
And
Yes, I know.
and of course they use it as a house plant there. And I think maybe it's because of ficus. My guess would be that it holds its leaves pretty good indoors.
Yeah.
And not as big as a fiddle leaf fig, and
Brian needs one. Very glossy
larger,
leaves.
What do I need?
This ficus, very glossy leaves.
Yeah,
Love
and
the
larger
glossy
leaves than a ficus benjamina. But anyway, I took it and planted it in the ground, and I'm wondering, since it's a select
Right next to
variety.
your septic tank.
No, it's not near the septic,
Big mistake.
but it's a what's
Sorry.
what banyan tree? It's a type of banyan.
Yeah.
So is Audrey a smaller type of banyan, or
He's wondering if it's going to get to be the size of the one in Hawaii.
yeah, the one
And do
in
we
the
have to
one in
move?
Maui was
exactly.
covered an acre, and I just wondered.
That's why Sam questions your tree.
Yes,
planting
it is.
abilities.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
But anyway,
It
it's
is smaller.
oh
it is
okay.
smaller.
Because right now the leaves on it, they're Brian leaves.
Yeah.
They're
Right?
so glossy
Ooh.
green. They're
Ooh.
just
Now you know what to
beautiful.
get Brian for Christmas.
See, you're never going to forget this, are you? The leaf guy. Brian's the
Yep.
leaf guy that likes
Loves the
glossy
glossy
leaves.
Actually, if you remind me, we're going to see you the first part of December. We could get Brian a ficus Audrey for
Just a
Christmas.
Big, just a big leaf. Here's
I
a
know
huge
how much
leaf.
Dana loves it when you give Brian plants.
Yeah. Exactly.
I've taken plants out of the dumpster.
I've heard.
People throw. I'm like, there's nothing. What are you doing?
When I worked at Armstrong, we would do it all the time.
Brian's
And people,
dumpster.
there were people dumpster diving. We would chuck.
I think when people move as well, they go, I can't take this with me.
Yeah,
It's gonna throw it away.
it does seem wrong to throw.
I got a
plants
great pair of
away.
Nikes out of the dumpster one time. Actually,
Wow.
hold on. They were not in the
The
dumpster.
secret life of
wow.
Brian Bain.
They were laid on the side.
Oh, my
on the
goodness.
side, there's the dumpster, and then you go in, and then there's
So
this.
you stole someone's Nikes?
No, they put them out there.
No, they just set them down, probably loading their car.
No.
and
They're
then,
No,
like,
you
you
have
know
to
what? I have this
purposely
really
go in
bad
there.
case of athletes, but I need to get rid of these. Brian's like, sweet.
Do you draw the line anywhere, like undergarments, maybe? Which you would not get.
No line.
Oh,
No line drawn.
oh man!
There's no
I
line.
thought you'd
drawn.
like that. See?
Wow, Brian.
This show really does go in all
No.
It does.
directions.
It
yeah.
does.
I have seen some of
out
the
of control
plants that you
fast.
say from the dumpster, though, and they were perfect after you
Yeah.
gave them a new home.
You know, so
I think even better because they're appreciative, you know?
He's concerned for the planet, you know, so it's good to recycle and reuse as much as we can. Less goes into the landfills. Good for
Yeah.
you, Brian.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
trying to do my part.
I appreciate you.
See, you know what? If nothing else, when you leave, I want your appreciation. And the fact that you know that I love glossy leaves.
This show's
Yeah,
been
you're a
about
trend-starter.
appreciating you,
Trend-starter.
recognizing you.
Is it your birthday? It was
It's
Dad's
all-
birthday. Did we say happy birthday to Dad?
No, it was
Oh, that's
last
right.
Monday.
It was last Monday, so
Oh.
people on Facebook don't even know that it was John's birthday last
Yeah.
Monday. Here we go. Here come the happy birthday.
This is one of the birthdays I'm here to celebrate. Dad's birthday, Mom's birthday's coming up.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's why you came out.
And my
You're
friend Tiffany's birthday.
Mine's next month, by the way.
Is it? Oh,
You won't forget.
Well, I'll see
It's
if I
the
can make it.
glossy leaf birthday.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll send you some
It's
leaf
that.
shine.
Oh, beautiful. And I'll
they
probably
still
I'll
sell
probably
that,
really
Tiger?
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
we do.
You
still,
do? Okay.
sell leaf shine.
You know,
yeah.
you give a gift to somebody like, well, nobody would like this except this person, and they're like, leaf shine.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Get
You know,
a gallon
there's
of it.
there's products that used to be really common, and you would see huge displays of in garden centers that we don't use anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, you might still sell them, but
it's
you'd
not.
have during pruning season there'd be big displays of pruning paint,
Yeah.
and no one uses pruning paint anymore. I don't think so. There's really no reason to, and actually, it's detrimental to trees when you use them. The cuts heal better without pruning paint or tree sealer. I think it's called sometimes. And
Happy
then,
birthday, John.
No, but I
by the
mean,
way.
like other thing, like
Facebook.
but leaf
all-
gloss is another one.
leaf gloss, and then the all-season oil spray. I mean, you should still use it on dormant trees, but I mean, it used to be, end caps and rows
Right.
and huge displays, and it's just not as much.
We used to have end caps when I started in the nursery at Frank's Nursery in Detroit. We used to have end caps of DDT.
Oh goodness,
It
I
was
remember
kind of
the
a
DDT era.
good all-purpose.
kill everything.
Good all purpose.
The old brown bottles in the garage that had a skull and crossbones, and
Yeah.
that was your fertilizer.
Yeah,
We also sold lead arsenate.
makes sense.
And that
you-
was just for fun.
Yeah,
You know what
amazing
you
what
know what
people
they
don't have
people
hands.
sprayed it on? They sprayed it on cherry trees to stop the birds from eating the cherries.
yeah.
But you should eat them
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly.
Yeah, but you
We-
can eat
we-
them, right?
Yeah, we're
Here,
going to
kids.
use this product so that way birds don't eat these cherries. But here,
Well,
take them all.
Yeah.
lead is bad for you. Arsenic's bad for you. Let's combine the two.
Yeah. Well, they should have just thrown in some mercury in there.
Ugh.
That's why they called it the greatest generation, because they survived all this stuff.
Well, yeah. Well,
They
the
used-
generation that rode on the back of pickup trucks, no seat belts,
Yeah.
drinking out of the hose,
Yeah.
did all that as a
Good
kid.
old
They used to
days.
have mercury fungicides, and they were used for mushrooms.
Yeah.
Or your brother's funny. Can't put my finger on it, but why does the show look so much better today?
Aw, thanks, Uncle Dave.
Anyway, Dave, thank you. I appreciate that.
It's
It's because you have your necklaces on today. You're
right.
all dressed up.
Brian's like, you noticed my new
Yeah.
glasses.
There we
Yeah.
go.
my new necklaces. Yeah, exactly. So Gina, what are some things that I know you're going into winter, so I mean, there's not a lot happening for you now.
Oh, yes, there is.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
What are you going to be?
You know,
working
that's
on?
a good
Winter
question, though.
interest. Winter interest. You have to watch the garden because now you have the leaves falling off the trees, and so my new thing this year is going to be, what do I want my garden to look like
For
the
winter.
winter.
Yeah.
So now I have some dogwood that have red branches, and I have a Canadian hawthorn that has red berries. And so my garden in the winter is going to have the only time I'll allow red in my garden is in the winter because it's a theme. So Christmas, you can have red in the garden.
But you don't like red otherwise?
No. It's
No,
white.
she has a white garden.
I know, but how about in general?
In general,
Just like the red panels here.
no, it's a little.
That makes her
offensive.
see red, Brian.
Boy, I love red. That's my favorite color. That and turquoise.
That and turquoise.
Turquoise and red
I
together.
think-
it
No,
seemed
no,
like
no,
the
no, just-
My
craziest
daughter
color.
loves turquoise. Her favorite color is like a turquoise or a blue, but
And your favorite color is?
black.
Okay, here we go. No, here we go, right? Here's the argument. Black's not a color, Gina. Neither is white.
Sure. Okay. Why do we? See it?
I like black is good, though.
I like lack of color or void of color.
Yeah.
I'm a black and
Exactly.
white kind of gal.
You like to watch a lot of black and white movies from the 40s.
I do actually. Yeah. So now
But
I'm looking
so-
for winter interest in the
Okay.
garden, and I'm looking to see. So I'll probably be looking to add. I'll be looking for spots in the garden of possibly adding some holly because I'm looking for things to cut in the winter.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
now I'm going
Yeah.
to make winter arrangements, and so I love to go foraging in the garden, in the forest. I cut pine branches, get the pine cones. You look for all sorts of things to make winter arrangements, and so I'll be looking in my backyard and thinking like, okay, what am I lacking? What could I use for winter arrangements? So I know I need to add some holly. So I'll be looking at the garden as things get deciduous and where there's holes. And just be looking to create that winter interest. So in the spring, I know I'm sort of collecting my
Yeah.
list of
Yeah.
what to be adding
Okay.
for winter. So,
Don't forget that English holly is dioecious.
Yeah. Don't forget that.
I
is
always
that a
forget
dad
that.
joke?
No,
I
it's
don't.
No, it's
not-
true. That is a dad joke because he's your dad. But
no. The reason I mention it is because in San Diego we usually don't use English hollies. We use Japanese hollies, which are monoecious.
yeah.
And they'll set berries. But if you're planting English hollies, which I think they'll probably have in Idaho
too
because
big.
they're hardier.
Aren't they big though?
No, there's different sizes, but
okay.
the point is that you have to have female hollies and male hollies in order to get the berries, if that's what you want.
I thought
think
you had that discussion years ago,
I
John.
think I know what we're doing when you visit.
It is break time. We have one more segment coming up. Quick show, right? One more
Yeah.
segment. It's flying right by. So this break is for Biz Talk Radio. Do stay with us. Those on Facebook Live, still time for a few more questions and comments as we continue on Garden America. All right, gang, this is it. Final segment. And just like that. But you're going to be here for a couple of weeks, right?
I can come back next Saturday.
She can come back now. She's got a taste of it now.
This is fun.
You
I
can
like
just take
this
your
side.
dad's spot.
I
You
like
can just
this
take
side.
your
Yeah, you know what John would say? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Well, that
Feel
was
free.
the first thought that entered into my mind was take the car.
Yeah.
Here's the keys.
Here's the keys.
Go have fun.
Go have fun on the radio, on Facebook Live. So, it was interesting when we set you up to ask you what you did over the winter, expecting, well, not much. I just kind of sit back. And it sounds like you're busier in the winter than you are the rest of the year.
That's when the planning begins. So that's when the seed starting begins. That's when I really take a look at the garden with a critical eye and start making my plans for spring. How much lawn can I cut without my husband noticing?
Or just accidentally kill.
Or accidentally kill part of it, cut the sprinklers to one end,
Yeah.
Well, in cold
You
climates,
thought about this.
in cold
getting better
climates, you
ideas.
can see the bones of the garden in
Yeah.
winter.
Yeah, you really can, right?
Right, where you don't down here so much because we have so many evergreen trees.
Or it's just such a short window. The leaves fall off in December, but
Right.
then they're back on in late February. You kind of don't have
Right.
that gap. Now, I don't know if the house that you're in now, would it ever lean towards you actually having like a greenhouse? Would you ever
Yes.
want one of those where you live?
Costco has a really cute one
Yeah.
that I've had my eye on.
But Because I mean,
Well-
there's a lot of stuff that you can do
Yes.
that now in the wintertime you can continue doing.
Well, I would like to have some citrus.
Ah.
And so, how romantic would it be to have a citrus house like they do in England,
Yeah.
Mine would be on
Orangery.
an
Right, and-
orangery. Oh. So that would be, I could have a mini scale of that, but
Yeah.
in my head, that's what it would be. Maybe I'd have 2 oranges in it. But-
Hey.
Or a lemon, but I do miss citrus. And so it was something I could bring into the greenhouse in the winter, protect, and then bring out again in the warmer months. But I definitely have a spot. It is going to require some lawn removal. So
You know what I see in your future?
Mm-hmm.
A podcast.
a podcast.
Yeah.
Why not? You
would
could set up a little garden podcast.
Oh, Brian, segue. Okay, here's what I want to do with Dad. Let me know if you guys would be interested. I want to do some filming while we're here of Dad's garden.
Yes.
Because
he never
Tiger has
does it.
done all this work, and you guys talk about it on the show, and nobody gets to see any of it. So while I'm here, since we know Dad has a little
thank you.
technical problems
Thank you.
from time to time.
I've been trying to get Tiger to do that, but he just either doesn't have
You
time
live
or
so
doesn't
far
want to.
away.
But
Well,
actually,
you live so far away,
You're there.
nobody wants to go.
yeah, but he
So-
could come
That's
up
a good
one
idea.
day,
That's a
and
great
you and
idea.
Tiger, I would be good at just holding the camera, and you and Tiger could do some little.
How did I get roped into this all of a sudden?
Here's
Yeah,
the thing.
really.
We could I'll just film the garden, and then
Yeah.
he could voice over. He doesn't
Yeah.
have to be on camera if he doesn't want to. He could just, voice over. But I was
People
thinking
just wanna
of
see his
yeah,
yard.
yeah. I was
Yeah.
thinking of doing some videos while we're here.
Sure.
Let us know if you're interested in that. Just
Yeah.
because I think you talk
We've
about.
already got
it.
a yes and an absolutely on Facebook.
Oh, okay. So I weeded Polyantha Hill a lot yesterday.
Oh my gosh.
So, because that's when he's mentioned is Polyantha Hill.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to try and get Polyantha Hill ready, and then the front looks great. Tiger, good job.
That's all your dad and mom right there.
Well, somebody had to stick around for that conversation. So good job for you. Everything looks alive and well and is like flourishing right now. The front yard looks really good. A lot of the roses are looking beautiful. So I was thinking maybe we could film some of that front yard, and then maybe
Yeah.
Polyantha Hill, and then maybe the Japanese garden if we get those in the ground.
So for the most part, with the heat and where you live, do you think you survived the summer so far? Just with everything you've done in the garden?
You're
Yeah.
pretty much at the end, right?
Yeah.
October's like our last bit of Santa Ana
But
weather.
how did it go this summer with everything out there?
Well, the problem I had, if we want to get into problems,
We got a couple of minutes.
all right, was I went to Europe for 2 weeks, and then we went to Yellowstone for a week. In those time periods that I was gone,
Tough, huh?
it's trying to bring things back after that, and not so much things that were in the ground, but
All the
I still
potting.
have so many
Yeah.
things in
Sure.
containers, and we're still putting in beds for roses, and hopefully we can within the next year get a lot of that done. We're putting in I don't know if I mentioned we're doing a test garden for Jackson and Perkins.
Yeah, I think you mentioned that last week.
And there's
briefly.
going to be, I think, 7 of them across the country. One's at the University of Louisiana, and I gave Tiger the dimensions, so I'm kind of hoping he can come up with some ideas for how to do it. We've got plenty of room,
Yeah.
and it's going to be, I think, 10 by 50, I told
I
you,
think
right?
it's a perfect spot too, from
Yeah.
the standpoint of it's a slope where it's enough where frost won't settle. It's got good exposure, so I think the roses will thrive in that area, and it's that area is soft because it's kind of fill. It's
Right.
dirt. It's dirt that was pushed there.
It's good avocado soil.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really good soil. Just the gophers will also. They're currently aerating it for us.
Right.
Well, that's good, and they work
so are
cheap,
the
don't they?
bugs.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of aeration happening in that.
Good,
area
you
at
need
this
that.
moment. Yeah.
Very good. Okay, we've got
Drainage.
about a minute.
Can I say happy birthday to my friend Tiffany?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Happy
Happy birthday.
40th, Tiffany. She's one of the ones
Good.
I'm here for. So she just hopped on. So hi,
Did
Tiffany.
Oh,
you guys
good. Happy
do,
birthday,
are you guys
Tiffany.
Going to do something?
We're going to Carlsbad next week. Yeah.
Ooh.
That's the one
nice.
Mom and
Very
Dad are
good.
stepping up for
Yeah,
for the girls' week.
Mom
or
and
weekend.
dad are like, oh, I guess we're watching the kids. Yeah.
Yep.
One of those times.
Yeah, I don't know if they had a choice. It's like
Gina,
I'm leaving them.
Thank you for coming in.
Oh, thank you for having me.
What a
So
breath
much
of fresh
fun.
air.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. and good feedback, so we appreciate that. But anytime you want to just show up, we're happy to have you.
Well, it's a flight, so I don't know if I can just show up or stop by. But
you never
I'm
know.
always here on Facebook.
That's true.
Tuning in.
That's true.
so.
That's true. All right, that's going to do it. Good gardening, right, John, as we used to say, or happy gardening? What did we used to say?
I think we like to end with
No.
"Get Growing America."
I like good gardening. Get
Oh,
growing
okay.
America. For everybody,
We'll
for
have
the
a new one.
entire
You speak good
crew.
English.
Tiger Palafox, Gina Richardson, John Bagnesco, I'm Brian Mean. Thank you for tuning in. Those on Biz Talk Radio, those of you on Facebook Live, you're looking good. We'll do it again next week. Safe weekend, safe week. Right back here next week on Garden America. Take care.